Welcome all to the November meeting of the Village of Buchanan. I'd like to first let everybody know that I am chairing the meeting because Teresa is still out from the effects of her operation. So hopefully we can all say a prayer for her that her ankles get better. It's pretty tough recovery from the surgery that she had. You all now rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We usually have some contentions at our meetings at different times, but this is a great meeting because it's a very happy one. Not only is it happy for the holidays, but we have a new police officer and we have a new detective to be sworn in tonight. So it is a very happy occasion. We also have no minutes to approve, so we don't have to go through that process. We'll start first with the new officer. Is that all right? Brian?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Jonathan? Raise your right hand.
I, Jonathan Tiernan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of,
of the position of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Courtney?
I, Courtney Locher,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of,
of the position of detective
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You can all sit down.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about the two officers that just were sworn in. First, John Tiernan. John comes to us by way of the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, and then the town of Saugerties before that. He has a total of about 8 years of service as a police officer, and came highly recommended by anybody that we interviewed as a background check, anybody that we've talked to. They were thrilled to have him. As a matter of fact, when I reached out to the chief of Saugerties, who was his previous employer, and he found out we were looking to hire him and John was willing to come here, he actually tried to convince him to go back to Saugerties instead of to come here. So, yeah, we got the better draft pick. And John's a community type oriented officer. You're going to love him once you get to know him and meet him. You're going to be thrilled with him. He'll blend perfectly into the community. He was a school resource officer for a while, and he was also a member of the SWAT team. Not that we'll have need of those talents, but he's just an all-around excellent police officer, and we're glad to have him on board. Courtney Locher, who's been here since December of 2006. 16, I'm sorry, 16. Yeah. Courtney's resume for a detective position is unmatched by anybody who's ever worked for the Buchanan Police Department. She was a detective in Saugerties for 2 years before coming here. They sent her to schools all across the country. She's investigated multiple felonies. She's investigated successfully 2 homicides. This is a very talented police officer, and we're very lucky to have her here as well. A few other words I'd like to say is that this is a really special occasion, that these 2 officers, as well as the other officers that we have here, the future for the Buchanan Police Department is very bright, and there's a lot to look forward to. And with these 2 officers, and last month Shane Farrell was sworn in as sergeant, the pieces have fallen together. And as I was thinking about it, I started thinking about my own future. And after a great deal of contemplation and many discussions with my wife Joan, I've decided after 37 years here with the Buchanan Police Department, I'm going to be retiring in January. Let me finish. I've been privileged and honored to serve this community for all these years, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the support and understanding of my family they've given me throughout the years. Having worked shift work for 22 years and being on constant call for another 15, it's not easy on a police officer's family. I'm grateful to this village board and every village board I've ever worked with. I know we haven't always agreed on everything, and that's really okay. Because if our disagreements are based on how to provide the best service to these people, how can any of us possibly be wrong? I'm grateful to the late Chief Joseph O'Toole, who took a chance and hired me with absolutely no police experience back in 1982. I'm grateful to the officers I currently work with now, knowing they put forth every effort to give the village residents their very best every day. I'm grateful to all the officers I've worked with over the years, especially retired Sergeant Mike Weeder, who I believe is the finest police officer I've ever known. He's sitting in the back room. And also, retired Detective Tom Cabelli is also in the back of the room. And Tom was an excellent police officer as well, and I'm proud to have worked with him. I'm grateful for the relationships I've had with the Highway Department, the Buchanan Court, the Buchanan Fire Department, the Cortland Ambulance Corps, and especially everyone I've worked with in Village Hall. Lastly, and most importantly, I'm grateful for all of you residents. I'm grateful for the support and friendship you've given me over all these years. I'm grateful that you've allowed me to be part of the Buchanan family for so long, and I only hope in return that I've served you well. Thank you.
We'd like to take some pictures now, okay? Well, if the board come out, please. First go with you. Our new officer. Where do you want us to go? Back here? Why don't you all, the other officers stand up too? They're all going to do it together. We're all.
Got a wide angle lens?
Can you guys all in?
I'll breathe in.
Got film in there?
He's going to drop it off the phone, man.
Anybody else want to take a picture while we're?
What's film?
Anybody else?
After today, there's a charge for it, so.
It's 37 years is a long time. Sorry with the board, I've got a great deal of family and friends here this evening, and unless you need me for something else, I'd like to be excused from the rest of the meeting,
Well,
spend time with them.
No, yeah, you very well can. I just want to say, the board might want to say a few words, Brian, and
Yeah,
then we're going to take a little break and people can leave because the rest of the agenda probably will not be, something you'll really be interested in. But I just want to compliment everybody here. I think they were great selections. I think the mayor feels that way too. There was great selections. We did not know about your retirement, but congratulations. I think you're going to really love retirement. Every night Friday, every day Saturday, and you'll lose track of whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's coming from a retired person. I think the Buchanan Police have been spectacular, really, in my time here. Anytime I've called them. Just recently I had Courtney help me out at about 12 o'clock at night when there was people who decided to get sick in my driveway, which I thought they were coming up the driveway, and she handled things so professionally and quietly all along. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think, when it all finished. So thank you, Courtney, especially for that. But all the police officers here in Buchanan, it's a great community, and as the chief said, I think there is a bright future here with our police departments, and I think we'll get through some tough times all together. And I wish the best for everybody here, and welcome to our new police officer. I hope you'll enjoy your employment here and get to know everybody in the village. Would anybody else on the board like to say something?
Yes. First of all, thank everyone for coming out tonight. And it is indeed a special occasion. And Chief, when you mentioned former Chief Joe O'Toole, that I had the pleasure of meeting. And I've been a village resident for 26 years, and I appreciate 6 years ago when I first became a board member how you kind of took me in and showed me the lanes and what the story was, and I certainly appreciate that. And just recently, the chief dug out some old pictures from 1934 and some old receipts, and one of the receipts was a car that the village bought for $640 in 1934. But again, you will be missed, but knowing that you are a good friend and someone that has the best interests of the village at heart, and what you leave us with today. Courtney, I interviewed you when you first came aboard and was very impressed. Our new person, I was impressed with you in your interviewing process and what you bring to the force, and certainly our new sergeant. I know you don't do stand-up like Mike did, but we'll have to work on that. But again, Chief, for your legacy, thank you for all you've done here in Buchanan.
I think it's a real talent to combine the professional policing with the, I guess you could say, the warmth that's needed and compassion that's needed in a small community like this. And I give credit to the chief for always finding great people. I think that's a big part of what the chief leaves behind and is a legacy. I think we have a great police force. I think the police force is a great comfort to this village and a very important part of this village. And I thank you all. Brian, I thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
First of all, I was taken by surprise what you did. And first of all, welcome, Jonathan. This is a great village to work in, and the community's going to see, just by interviewing you and getting to know you for that little bit of time, you're going to be a big asset here. Courtney, your resume spoke for itself. Well-deserved, and congratulations. And Brian, I'm going to miss you, man.
You as well.
That's it. Sorry.
I'd just like to comment that, Brian, what you had mentioned about how your family stood by you, and I think that's always, maybe it's always forgotten in law enforcement because of the type of work that law enforcement does, starting with shift work, that you don't know what time of the day it is half the times, and it's a great stress on the body, not only being just a police officer, but just having to change change your daily routine on a constant basis. So I think it's something that the general population doesn't realize as much, that it's not like shift work in a factory. I mean, you have to be, you know, at 100%. I'm not knocking shift work in a factory. That's not great either. So thank you all, and thank you all for coming. If you would like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you can. If not, we'll take a couple of minutes break right now, and if you want to make your way out, as I said, you're welcome to stay. But thank you very much, and I appreciate everything you've done. Welcome back to the November meeting, which has gotten very small. All our guests have left, and the meeting probably will be very short. But before I go on any further, I want to bring up, I don't know whether you call it sad. I find it kind of sad because Gabe DeRubio, excuse me. DeRubio. I got that third time around, I'll get it right. He is retiring after 26 years of service to the village, and you couldn't find a nicer guy. Any interaction I had with him, fantastic, and he did a great job. He had, I think, if you talk to any of the seniors in the village, he's had a range of trips all over the place, and he's been a great director of the senior organization, and we will be sorely missed, and we wish him well. It's amazing, 26 years. Anybody else want to make a comment about him or not?
No,
Okay.
Gabe was very knowledgeable of senior issues and did a fantastic job for the Buchanan seniors over the years, and it was a pleasure to know him and be in his presence, and just really did a yeoman's job.
Thank you. All right, moving on, comments from the floor, agenda items only. New business, we only have one resolution. Resolution adopting a village sexual harassment policy, which is long overdue, and especially in this time of so much being in the news about it. I will read it out. The Village of Buchanan resolution approving a sexual harassment policy. Whereas the Village Board of Trustees believes that updating the sexual harassment policy from time to time is in the best interest of the Village of Buchanan, and whereas Section 201G of the Consolidated Laws of New York State require all employees to adopt, post, and distribute to all employees a sexual harassment prevention policy, and whereas New York State Department of Labor finalized the sexual harassment prevention guidance, which includes a model policy which the village staff have reviewed and incorporated in the Village of Buchanan policy, and whereas the Board of Trustees has reviewed the proposed sexual harassment policy and has recommended approval, now therefore be it resolved that Village of Buchanan Board of Trustees does hereby adopt the sexual harassment policy, which is intended to apply to all village employees, consultants, and others who provide services in the Village of Buchanan workplace. On the motion?
So move.
Second?
Second?
Discussion. I just like to, I've read through the policy, and it's pretty extensive. I just have one question for our attorney, is when it states that we're responsible for the sexual harassment of people that we would employ that are not under the direct employment of the village, but an outside contractor, that seems to be difficult for an organization to enforce. It's you're contracting with an outside contractor, but I assume from reading it that this is what New York State has. So I guess we go forward with that. But I found that a little.
This is the model policy that most jurisdictions are adopting because it comes from the state. There was a long period of comment in various jurisdictions.
Right.
Professionals were commenting, and this is what it came down to. And I just felt that to be safe, you probably should pass what they suggest we pass.
Okay.
And that's really why I put it in front of you. By the way, we do have a sexual harassment policy in our handbook. as we were required to do.
Right.
But the point was to make it more extensive.
Well, New York State changed the legislation on this,
Yeah.
requiring it, did they not?
Requiring it.
Well, I don't know exactly, in the last year or so?
It just got,
With the budget.
when?
When he adopted the budget, the state budget, was part of a
Yeah,
law
and
that
they had
they
a
put in.
comment period, and I think it had to be in effect by October something or other, 9th, is that when it came out? Yeah, so that's when we all got it. But they did change the law before that, then they went and comment on what it should look like and what should be covered and how you should do it, so there's a complaint form that if somebody comes and this is what they should fill out. We're also gonna add a signature sheet and make sure everybody gets a copy and signs off on it.
Okay. When you say everybody, do you mean everybody that works for the village?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's protocol.
Okay. And does that include committees, you know, I mean, does that include the beautification committee?
You know what, that's up to you, I would give it to everybody who does anything in this village.
Or only people that are on the payroll in some form or another? Zoning board, planning board, Bob?
Bob, you're getting one, Bob.
But, you know, highway department and so
You also
forth.
have to do training once a year, too, as we're
Well,
talking about.
I wanted to ask that because I believe, you know, my wife is involved with this where she works for, which is a social services
Yep.
agency, and she's in the human resources part of it, and said there is a training requirement.
Yep.
And she also said that I believe training is supposed to be done by January 1st, by the beginning of, is there
Well,
some
the police
training
have
that we're?
been- Well, I don't know when I did that one last, so, but I don't know who's does your training, Bob?
We've done. We've been able to do it with CD.
Videos.
Okay.
With-
And we get
You do it with,
DVDs from our
with the what?
insurance company as well.
Usually.
And online?
Just like a training video online.
Online?
We do with each other. We have-
Does that meet the requirement, the online?
You know, I'll look it up, but yeah, I think the insurance companies
Okay.
put it out, there's tons of stuff online. I
Okay.
mean, when it was the police department, I got the information from online, and then I sat with them.
So as Rich asked then about contractors, subcontractors, you hire a road crew, you hire people to do the road, and,
Getting carried away.
you know, I mean, I come from, you know, I've worked for many years on a construction background, and inappropriate,
I don't know.
homophobic, and sexual remarks are just a standard part of the humor, and we laugh, you know, we shrug it off, but it's stuff that in a lot of work environments, you just can't do, you know? I mean, you know, in 30 years of construction, I've been called some form of sexual deviant at least 5,000 times. It's just the way guys talk to each other. You know?
Well, as long as
and-
nothing sticks.
Well,
I'm changing my seat.
I'm, you know, but it doesn't, I'm not,
Yeah, no, leave that out.
No, leave that
Okay.
off.
but I'm very serious, like where is the line? Because, you know, when you have a construction crew,
What construction
And-
crews do we have?
well, road crews, contractors, air conditioning, energy, electrical, whatever.
Well, I
And we contract with them, companies?
So
Is that
there are
what you
certain
like
things
with the
that,
company?
you know,
That should have
that
training
like
for them?
construction, people will commonly, there's terminology and phrases, I could be specific if you want me to,
No,
but I'm just saying, you know, how do you monitor things like that?
Well, I think on the part of Richard's question in terms of this, people who are doing business with the village is
Right.
the criteria that I would be comfortable with. And as far as the Buchanan Day Club or the Beautification Club or whatever, which is an ad hoc committee essentially, I don't see the need that would cover, this would
Okay.
go to them. I mean, that's just my general thought on it. You might want to just check and see
Sure.
how maybe Cortland is looked at it, but I would go with that. And I think Nick brings up a good point that someone coming in and, you know, in the construction industry or whatever,
Well, I certainly think that you can tell whoever the company, whoever the supervisor is, whoever it is, that we have an expectation that there will not be that kind of,
right,
I mean, we don't supervise them, right? Aren't they supervised by?
By themselves.
right.
Yeah.
So in other words, to cover our liability, right? In other words, to cover our liability, when we hire somebody, a contractor, we should have, at the point of hiring and signing on the
Within
dotted
that
line,
contract.
we should
They
tell
should
them.
They supervise their.
Yeah.
Or they should be, anytime we hire a subcontractor, they should be given a copy of the sexual harassment policy and asked to sign it.
Yeah, but I'm saying you don't go out to the road crew if there's 10 guys out there whistling at people. But if you
No.
hear that, you talk to their supervisor, the company, whoever's, who
Yeah.
has been
You know,
made
it's
aware
it's a little bit
our
of a tricky
policy.
thing because I don't really anticipate a problem, given the size of the village and the nature of the village and the way everybody knows each other. You know, but in a larger corporation where there are more contacts with people that you don't know well, like there are things that are kind of on the hard to determine. Is it sexual harassment? If I say to somebody, "You look nice today," is that sexual harassment? No. But how somebody takes it, you cannot control. You know,
But-
so there's a sort of line that's there are certain types of things that are not meant in any way like that, but can be construed by somebody.
Well, some sort of wording when we do a contract with someone that we've entered into a binding agreement with, to just make them aware of this agreement and
Yeah,
that type of thing.
definitely.
Written in just to
Cover it,
cover
yeah.
ourselves.
Right.
Yes.
And then their supervisor supervises them, not we supervise them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could go so far, I mean, it's not uncommon now, in construction now, there are so many more things like this, things that didn't exist 25 years ago, and now you go, and everybody has to read this or that policy and sign it. Not just the supervisor, but everybody that works on the job.
But is that
Whether
from
it's
their company?
It's a lot of it is driven by insurance companies,
Okay.
because there's so much more liability issues in construction sites now that whether it's safety procedures or, behavioral stuff, or if we're doing a hotel renovation right now, interacting with people that are guests at the hotel, strictly verboten, so there's a lot of things that now more and more whether you're a supervisor or just one of the tradespeople, you'll be required to read the thing and sign. And that's how they cover themselves as far as the insurance goes, and I think we need maybe something along those lines.
Very good.
I had
you.
one other
Yeah.
question. It has to do with the investigations. If there's an incident, it says that the,
What page is
all-
that, Nick?
this is on page 4, but I think it's mentioned a couple of times. There's a couple of pages having to do with the investigation. And it says all complaints, all reports of sexual harassment have to be investigated. And it does say in here somewhere that the village administrator would conduct the investigation. Now, obviously, if there was somebody reports that somebody made an inappropriate comment, perhaps we could investigate it in-house. But if somebody does something physical, like, inappropriate touching, those are crimes, and I think that goes to the police.
Yeah.
Of course.
So there's
The
a,
initial
so,
investigation, pass it on.
like to say to somebody, to whistle at a girl on the street is not illegal, to touch her is.
But this is a state law, so the
But
state.
it may be inappropriate, or it may be sexual harassment, but there are certain things that fall under the jurisdiction
Yeah.
of in-house, and certain things that fall under the jurisdiction of the police.
Mhm.
But is it, being that we're such a small community, would it be not better to have any investigations that have to be done by an outside party?
Well, that's up to you. You're the board.
That would be adding a lot of expense.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I guess we could do it on a case by case.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That it would be whatever the severity of it is, whether it be handled by police, handled in some other way. But since we haven't had any, let's be prepared, with the language anyway.
Yeah, how do you feel about it, Kevin?
I believe it could start at my level. If I feel that it's
Yeah,
something
I
that's going to be
agree.
needed to be passed on to the police, we could pass it on to the
Then we
police
would,
or
right.
an
Yeah,
outside
I
agency.
agree.
But
If
if we
there's-
could start at this level, if it's something that we can
And if it got too
look at
complicated or
in-house.
something,
If it got
just,
too complicated, Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, the protocol in the federal government was to try to resolve it at the lowest possible level.
Yes.
And the first level would be with the supervisor. If it was somebody who said something out of place and they apologized and the person who they said it to was satisfied with that, then it's done. If naturally they want to keep pushing an issue, it goes up the line. But I would think, like, if somebody happens in the highway department and you sat down with them and the person who they said it to and they're happy, that's fine. It ends there. But if you felt that the person said no, then they would go to Kevin, and then after Kevin, it would go maybe to the mayor's level, and after that, then it would go to an attorney or an EEO counselor of some kind. But if at that particular point, then you're into the money on a counselor.
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pete?
Aye.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, all in favor. All right, we're down to information from officers and departments. Got the Justice Court report, as Teresa likes to read out. It's a good bit this month for $5,190. We have the minutes from the zoning minutes from June 2018, July 2018, and September 2018. We have the police report from September 2018.
October.
And the fire inspector's report from September of 2018. Our attorney.
The only thing I have is that Kevin and I are looking, thank you. Kevin and I are looking at your employee handbook, and we're going to be tweaking and adding a few policies that we think are important. And so we'll pass them along, and all I'd say is look at them, comment, let us know. Because sometimes it's hard to go through all that at one meeting. So we'll probably be passing them all the time and bringing them up for discussion. But we'd like to do that sort of soon, because we're missing some, and some definitely have to be tweaked. I think the last time it was done was like 2010, and the world changes.
Does the employee handbook include things like training? Like the zoning board has to do, once a year?
I don't know that
Is
it's
that in there, or is that's in the code?
I think that's in the code.
I mean, we have like the sexual harassment is in there. It's pretty use of computers, but things have changed and we'd like to tweak them a bit. And then everybody should be signing off on that once a year, which I think Kevin gives them, right? They sign them, receipt that they got them. Okay, good.
Administrator.
Okay. It's got a few things. Paving projects is wrapped up. We did paving on 4th Street with curbs, and we did catch basin work and curb work throughout other locations throughout the village. We ended up doing about 11 catch basins throughout the village. We still have more that we need to get done, whether either through ourselves, but I was also at a meeting and I was speaking with Jeff Coleman, who's the head of their Public Works Department, and he said that they have a bid for catch basin work, so we're going to take a look at it, review it, see if it'll work for us to help us get some of the other ones done as well. The water meter switch out is moving along. I think we've probably done about 300 of a total of about 750, so that work is continuing. I just want to mention that we have the annual tree lighting, which will be on December 2nd at Village Circle, and at Village Hall afterwards. Event starts at 6 o'clock. Also this year, we're going to be hosting the Pearl Harbor Remembrance. It rotates from year to year between us, Peekskill, the town of Cortland, and Croton. This event's going to be held on December 7th at 4 o'clock here, probably in the community room on the 2nd floor, but we'll have more information about that in the upcoming newsletter. Also, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, with these last heavy rains that we've had, we've been processing, in some cases, over 1 million gallons at the wastewater plant. I mean, a combination, obviously, showing that our system has a lot of water infiltration. While we're here, I want to remind residents that some pumps should not be hooked up into the sanitary sewer system. These pumps are either directed to a dry well or to a storm sewer if possible. I think we want to start some sort of a policy where we start to TV some of our lines each year to try to find areas where water's infiltrating into our system, because we're paying a lot of money in general to process water on these heavy. I mean, one of the storms that it was, I believe last month, we did 1.5 million gallons, where our normal flow at the sewer plant is around 280,000. So
Wow.
it shows you just how much
Wow.
water is getting in the system.
Should we, I mean, people are not necessarily be aware of that. Is that maybe something where we
We
should
could
put a
put something
letter?
in the newsletter or a letter in
An
the
insert
newsletter.
explaining that if
Sure.
you do it, use a sump pump, it should not be pumped into the,
Sanitary sewer, right.
into
Exactly.
the, into your sink drain or whatever.
Right. On another topic, I just want to let everybody know, we have a manhole that is out on the Con Ed property, which is in very poor condition, which is, again, allowing a lot of water in there. That, we have an emergency quote that we've received, which is acceptable, and we're working with Con Ed to gain access to that.
Where is that?
It's out, it crosses through the transmission property
On
of
Westchester?
Con Ed. I mean, on the Con Ed property where the transmission, it cuts towards the wastewater plant. There's a manhole out there, and it's in poor condition over the years. And what we're doing is we got a price to repair it because, you know, the village engineer as well as the consultants we have believe that we're getting a lot of water in there. So we're going to do that emergently. We're just working with Con Ed to get access now. So that's another thing which is going to hopefully help to reduce some of the water that's infiltrating into our system. Last note I have, I just wanted to reach out, let everybody know that next month in December, our workshop is scheduled for Christmas. So I just wanted to say we're going to have to look for a different date. I spoke to the mayor today. She suggested, that we do the Tuesday before, which is the 18th. So I just thought I'd run it by you guys and see
Keep it away from Christmas week.
if that worked for you guys.
Yep.
December 18th?
Yeah,
December 18th, yes. And one last thing, I just also wanted to mention, the grant that we got from Senator Murphy's, we've completed the work at the highway garage, which is the repair of the garbage truck garage, as well as the roof over the rest of the building. So we're going to be putting in for reimbursement, and we'll get reimbursed our money. And that's all I have.
Good. That leaves it to me. Since Teresa's not here, and again, I hope everything's going well with her and she'll be back for the next meeting. She attended with myself and Kevin here. We attended the November 1st meeting with Entergy, the shareholders or what meeting that they have, what they call. And there really wasn't anything too much new. They're just saying about how they hadn't given any information as to whether or not they would sell the plant to a company that specializes in closing nuclear power plants. They just went through a lot of mechanics of what was going on, and again going over the safety issues. There was very few questions, so it was. I guess I got the impression it was a meeting that maybe the NRC requires them to do occasionally or so many times a year. November 8th, which is tomorrow, at the Veterans Hospital in Montrose, there will be a ceremony for Veterans Day at 10 o'clock in the morning. If anybody wants to attend that, it's always a nice ceremony put on, and it's always good to see the vets and get their spirits up, because as we know, there are a lot of people recovering from a lot of different things down there, and a lot of them very serious. On November 11th at 12:30, the town of Cortland will have its Veterans Day commemoration over in the Morabito Center at 12:30 a.m. on Sunday. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I will now turn over to Cheech.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I don't have much. Just wanted to note that the mayor and I attended the inspection ceremony for the Buchanan Fire Department. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it's always an honor to be part of any event that includes first responders. And the mayor also, since she was a little incapacitated, I had actually helped give out the certificates, which was a thrill for me. I'd also like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and happy Veterans Day to to everybody that served and people that we remember who served in our military. Also, some congrats to all the young men and young ladies who made their first confirmation 2 weeks ago at St. Christopher Church. I also like to extend a thank you to Sergeant Farrell. The weather was really bad that day, and he took the time out of his day to direct the traffic going in and out, which was a nice thing. Also, I have a couple of police reports. I was going over the monthly activity report that Chief Tubbs gave us, and we had quite a few arrests last month. I think it was 7 or 8 now. But I have a couple of highlights here that might be of interest, and I'd like to read them. Officer Lochner on October 10th arrests a 30-year-old Putnam Valley man for multiple violations of the vehicle and traffic law, including driving with suspended license. Officer Buddy on October the 25th responds to Burke Court for a report of a resident of that street threatening his neighbor with a sword. Officer Buddy locates the suspect and recovers the sword. The 28-year-old Buchanan man is arrested and charged with menacing. I had seen the sword, and it's like that. On November 1st, which was, I guess, just last week, Officer Lochner again arrests a 25-year-old Poughkeepsie man for multiple violations of the vehicle and traffic law, including driving with a suspended license. The police department received a call of an elderly female had fallen into a sinkhole. Officer Lochner and Chief Tubbs responded. The 2 officers, along with the Buchanan Highway employee Randy Hesselgrave, were able to get the woman out of what appeared to be an old collapsed water storage tank. She was taken by ambulance to the hospital for examination and treatment.
Wow,
Nice work, guys.
Is that on her private property?
I didn't get the full details of it.
I
just
believe
have like
so.
a
It
little-
was in the
Wow.
patch.
Yeah.
I read it in the
Okay.
patch. yeah.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, nothing much right now. I just wanted to give a little preview. I want at the next workshop to bring up a proposal to put it in resolution or code form that new trustees are required to get certain training. I think we've discussed this in the past. We've talked to, I could remember being at one WMO Westchester Municipal officials meeting with Teresa and discussing with people from Ossining what they do. And, you know, it's come up in many conversations, but we've never really followed through. And I think it would be a good thing. I'd like to see, you know, discuss putting that into a code form or a resolution form. The basics of background and various things, not too dissimilar to what would be in the NICOM elected officials handbook, which is just the basics of zoning, the basics of planning and SEQRA review, basics of passing legislation, and a couple of other things. So I just want to mention that. I'd like to, you know, if people want to think about that or have any ideas on it, at the next workshop, I'll write something up for that. Thank you, that's all.
Dwayne?
Thank you. Certainly, as a veteran on Sunday, it's a very important day. As you know, I always say freedom is not free, never has been free, and it's definitely not free today. So come out and give some support either at the VA hospital or at the Marabito Center on Sunday. Thank everyone who voted in record numbers yesterday. That democracy is alive and well in Buchanan and certainly throughout Westchester. Everyone who came out to vote and did their civic duty, because that's what it is. It's a civic duty to vote. We don't require it in this country, but it is by all means doing the right thing and certainly being involved at all levels of government and exercising your right that so many people, veterans and non-veterans, have given us this right. And it is sacred, and we should always take it seriously. So thank everyone for voting yesterday. Record turnouts throughout Westchester. And have a great Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of turkey. You have my permission. You know, overdo it. Go ahead, you know. And as the mayor always says, have a beautiful Buchanan Day.
Thank you. Comments from the floor? Nobody? Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.